Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Underneath the Hood. I'm Dave Martin, the owner of Martin's Auto Repair in Central Phoenix.
I'm Glen Hayward, the proud owner of Goodworks Auto Repair in sunny Tempe, Arizona.
And I'm Lee Weatherby with Accurate Automotive in the heart of Mesa.
And together, we represent 140 years of combined automotive experience.
Our goal is to change the perception of our auto repair industry by going behind the scenes and underneath the hood.
And we hope to share with you what it's like to own a small business and give you a perspective from an insider's point of view.
So let's get started. Hey, good morning, Lee. Good morning, Glenn. What's going on, guys?
David, it's another happy day in paradise today.
Yep, living the automotive dream, right?
Good to
Sometimes
be alive.
sometimes it's a dream, sometimes it's a nightmare. But, and we'll be talking about some of that stuff today.
Yeah, we'll be talking about a particular car today. But before we get into that, I'm excited about our topic today. But before we get into that, why don't you give us a day in history there,
Dave? That was a big tease. You did a good one on that. That was
Thanks,
good,
man.
I'm still trying to figure out what we're going to be talking about today. So,
Well, it's October already, and it's just crazy how the years go by faster as we get more aged, right? But back in
year went fast. Did
you say ancient or aging?
Yes. On October 14th of 1965, when I was just a young lad, let's see, I'd have been 9 years old then, Oldsmobile debuted the groundbreaking front-wheel drive Toronado.
Love that car.
Really cool-looking car.
Really fast
The Toronado was an awesome-looking car, making the first mass-produced front-wheel drive American car since 1937.
Whoa.
It went on to win the 1966 Motor Trend Car of the Year award.
Have you ever worked on a Toronado or driven one?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
I'll tell you what, that was a phenomenal vehicle. That was a phenomenal vehicle. You just think front wheel drive.
It was a boat.
Huge.
It was a boat. It was a boat.
It was a land job, Dave.
And the engine wasn't in sideways. The
Yeah.
transmission was still behind the engine facing forward, which is that's what really made it unique, because everyone else said, maybe we can stuff more junk in there if we turn the motor sideways, and then they went with a different kind of transaction. But this is, it was really a work of art.
It was really a work of art. I'll tell you what, they did. That was fun, especially for them to come out with that kind of.
They were ahead of their times.
They were way ahead of their time.
Way ahead of their time on that deal.
That's fun.
Well, Lee, what do you got? A quote for the day?
I do. And you know what? This is probably one of my favorite ones. This is from Henry Ford. And I'll tell you what, I believe in this, and I use this almost every day, because think about it. We use this with the people that we talk with the people at the bank, people, that are in our shops. All right. It says, don't find fault. Just don't find fault. Find a remedy. Anyone can complain.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That was so true.
I think someone changed that somewhere along the line to find a solution. It may have been Lee Iacocca when he took over Chrysler, He was a Ford guy, though. So that's why he just changed it for his own benefit.
What happened with the Pinto?
Well, we all run our
The
teams.
exploding Pinto? I have no idea. I think they all blew up.
There we go.
Who said that?
Henry Ford.
Henry Ford.
Yeah. Henry Ford.
Well, and we're all leaders in our businesses and stuff like that. And when we have meetings and team meetings, one of the things that I always stress to my guys, I go, these meetings are not complaint sessions. These are solution sessions.
Is that complaint with the B?
Yes, it is definitely. But definitely they want, we want solutions. And that's really the only way you move forward.
Well, you know what? I've always asked my people, and really and truly, I think we could be much more progressive with a different kind of a mindset, just a little shift. And that is, don't come to me with a problem without at least having put a little forethought into a solution, because here's the thing. Anybody can come and complain, just like he's talking about. And I think this was very, very apropos. But, even I think, did you introduce our topic today? What are we going to be talking about?
Well, I want to ask
favorite
you guys,
car brands or something like that?
I was just going to ask you, what's your favorite car brand?
You know what? That's such a massive question, because the reality of it is, I like so many. I mean, I'm not necessarily stuck on one. I know some people are very stuck on
they
this,
got
that,
their
or
favorite.
the other.
They got their favorite brand and they won't switch.
And
I get it.
And I hate to say it, I think I'm changing, because, of course, for a long time I was a GM guy. I really, really loved GM, and that was what I wanted to own. I've had them ever since I was just a tot, 12, 13 years old. I had cars, and started collecting them. Nowadays, I mean, I see some of the real genius that's being done in some of the automobiles. I mean, there was a time when I thought Lamborghinis were, the greatest thing in popcorn. Then I drove one. I thought, ooh,
Well, if
I
you
don't
got
fit this car.
You got $450,000 to drop on a vehicle.
What's your favorite car, Glenn?
Well, I was a Ford guy. My dad was a Ford guy, and I've been driving Fords. I still have a Ford Edge, a 2018 Edge that my wife and I drive. But I also like Toyota and Lexus. I have a Lexus GS 350 all-wheel drive, which is a very rare car. And, so I'm not necessarily bent on one brand or another, but there are certain models within brands that I really like and admire, and I see their reliability or
Agreed.
on the other hand, unreliability, and you stay away from those because everyone builds a cheap car. Every manufacturer that's out there builds a great luxury car most of the time, and then the bottom end cars are bottom end cars, and the expectation of what you're going to get out of that vehicle has to drop to some degree. Although, Toyota with the Corolla, I mean, they're still making a Corolla today. They're still making the Camry.
Corollas are great cars,
and they're not expensive cars. And I see them all the time because I've owned several of them. I've sold a bunch of them that I fixed up that people blew up, and
And it's interesting that you just made that analysis because I really like that, where you have a top end, vehicle, what they would call maybe their flagship, and then they have a lower end vehicle. Whereas Toyota has they have some top end vehicles, they usually leave those in the Lexus lines and stuff like that. But like even if you just stuck specifically to Toyota, their Highline would be like the Avalons and stuff like that, right? Before you get into
Camry's a great car too.
Camry's a great car.
I mean,
great car.
I've owned a bunch of those.
But even their low line car, or what I don't know, that's really the proper terminology. In other words, top shelf and maybe a little economy car. Right. That's probably better terminology. The Corolla, fantastic automobiles. You know what I mean? Whereas some manufacturers go way, way extreme, where they go way overboard on their, exotics, and they go way, way underboard, you know what I mean, on their, let's call those economy cars.
Right. They're selling their trade name, but not necessarily the car that represents them.
Yeah.
Because they can't cater to everybody with expensive cars.
No,
there are
exactly
people whose
right.
budgets just don't allow them to buy those, And so,
Well, and then you got the people that don't drive a lot. The thing is they put very low miles on.
They need a grocery getter.
They don't need a $100,000 car to go to the grocery store, go to church.
It's funny that you would ask that question. You know what I mean? What's your favorite car?
Yeah.
Because I mean, like I can't give you an exact answer. I can tell you the cars that we enjoy driving and stuff like that. But if I flip that question around, and I'm not going to do that, you know what I mean? But what cars would you not want to ever own? I mean, that's an easy list to know,
Right.
But like today, I mean, I think we were going to be talking about maybe a specific car line.
Well, and that is I was just going to say, my dad was always a Ford guy, and now that he's older, he got a Buick. So,
yeah,
that's the ultimate old man car.
That's our flagship product for old people.
It is, right. But I mean, listen, and Buick's one of the best American-made
They
cars.
survived all the cutoffs from
Absolutely.
GM when they got rid of the Pontiac and they got rid of
Oldsmobile,
Saturn and Oldsmobile.
Yeah.
So
Buick
I drive
stood
a
their ground.
Ford. I drive a Ford, and so I like it.
Hey, Dave, I'm sorry about your luck. No.
yeah.
I always thought that Dave had good taste.
Hey,
you know what Ford stands for, right? First on race day.
There you go. I thought it was
really.
found
When was the
on
last
road
time they
dead.
placed?
Well, you're talking about a different race.
Fix or repair daily. I mean, I've heard a lot of acronyms that
Yeah. So, by the way, guess what our topic is today? We're going to talk about Fords.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about Fords. And I'm going to tell you guys something. In 2024, Ford sold nearly 2.1 million vehicles in the U.S. 80% of them were assembled in the U.S.
Wow.
That's important to me.
Yeah.
And that hits close to home. It really does.
Right.
Now,
we're not supporting foreign entities. We are keeping our business
the F-Series
at home.
was the best-selling truck, and the F-Series remains one of the top vehicles worldwide.
We'll see, and now I can tell you
not
this.
just top trucks, top vehicles.
Right.
That's a remarkable statistic.
And that's what I was getting to. Is I mean,
F-Series
look at
trucks. Yeah, they're trucks.
I don't have a big. I don't know. It's probably not a couth way to say this, but the real reality of it is, I'm not a big Ford car fan. You know, the cars.
Oh yeah, the trucks.
I'm not a big fan of the cars, but the trucks, I really believe the engineers are some of the top notch, because I think the Ford trucks are phenomenal. No, I don't drive a Ford truck, driven thousands of them, and they are a quality automobile, just in and out. They're good to look at. They're good to drive. They're good to feel. Doesn't mean they don't come with problems. You know what I mean? They don't have some issues, but I will tell you what, I think Ford really takes a lot of time, puts a lot of emphasis on making sure that they build a quality product. I mean, I love some of the innovations that you can see from these trucks, and even just the little kick thing, you know, underneath where they got some drop downs. And I mean, they just do very unique things, but I don't think they get off the beaten path. I think they focus on making sure their engines and their transmissions and the doors and the operations and the function really is quality.
Right. And I, I drive a E-Series Ford van, and I'm really bummed that they've got rid of the E-Series vans.
Wow.
And they went to the
Transit.
the Transit. And, you know, I don't like the looks of them.
They look like a bread truck or something.
You know what? They're more of a utility vehicle. Like the E-Series van, you could make them into a family vehicle,
camping vehicle,
just a everyday driver. You know, mine's a 1-ton, and I love it. You sit up high.
I didn't think you weighed that much, Dave.
No, I got to have something. I got to have a 1-ton truck to keep me from, I do.
Oh. Well, here's the thing, though. I think Ford over the years has really done. I mean, so I say I'm not really a Ford car fan, but I mean, I will tell you this. Listen, guys, one of the greatest cars out on the road, American icon, is the Mustang. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
My kids both had them. I loved working on the older ones. You know what I mean? I thought just they were very well. They were ahead of their time in that era. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. They were
simple, about as simple a car as there is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they did win a lot of races. They had the Shelby back then, and they had all these vehicles that really were. They were just the body lines on those vehicles in the 70s and 80s.
They were sexy.
Amazing. They were sexy.
They were
totally sexy.
They were sexy. Well, and I mean, think about this. Even some of the earlier, editions of cars, and they're now starting to come back out. The Ford Bronco. I mean, guys, I'll tell you what. When I was in high school, I coveted that car. That was a car I wanted. You know what I mean? I thought, oh man, if I could just get my hands on one of those.
My brothers have owned like 4 or 5 of them, of the old school ones, pre 86.
I don't mean like the Bronco 2s. And stuff like that. I mean the actual Broncos.
I have a friend of mine that rebuilt. He actually has gotten a lot of those Broncos, and he rebuilds them. And like they're in rough shape, and he rebuilds them, and
they bring high dollar nowadays.
Oh, they're crazy. He brought a couple of them into the shop, and we did some stuff that he couldn't do. He didn't have the equipment to do. Yeah. So we did it, and he was telling me. He goes, I go, what are you going to do with this thing when you build it? He goes, I'll probably sell it. I go, what are you going to get for it? He's over $100,000.
Yeah.
Over $100,000 for those things. It's crazy.
You know what? Once again, it was simplistic in design, but it was really unique in nature. And I'll tell you what, the drive, you could take them off road. They were reliable as all get out. I mean, they had that 5.0, 5.8 motor. You know what I mean?
I think that was a big mistake for them to stop building that. Then they built a bigger one. And then, and then they built the Bronco 2, which is a smaller one, but it was
but now you look at the ones that come out today,
it's like paper mache compared to what,
Exactly. It was a letdown, you know what I mean? From the Bronco experience.
They tried to resurrect something that was and didn't think it through. It's in my opinion.
So let's run down a couple there's like 5 other top vehicles that we see if you guys all recognize. Obviously you will, but the Mustang, you said it, Lee.
Oh, phenomenal.
And had a 67 fastback.
What about the Escape?
Well, you know what? That's interesting. The Ford Escape's gone through kind of a little bit of its own kind of, rebuild, if you will, where when they first came out, they were a little bit smaller, and I don't think they were as reliable. And nowadays they've gotten a little bit more like the SUV styling, you know what I mean? And they're just a little bit more reliable, and you know what? They actually have a very good feel. People like them.
And they made a hybrid version of it, which
Did they?
My daughter has one.
Wow.
And I bought and sold a whole bunch of them. The hybrid battery went, so I bought the car, put in another hybrid battery, and they're still on the road. In fact, a girl who used to work for me, Paige, is trying to figure out if I want to buy hers back because she bought another car.
Wow.
She wants to know if I want to buy the Escape hybrid back from her because it's still running great.
Well, and then, you talked about the Escape starting out with a little rough road.
Yeah.
Well, how about the Explorer?
You know what?
That started out as a rough road there.
But I'll tell you what. but Kelly and I had one, and they had that Explorer, and then they had the Explorer Sport. Now the only difference in that was the Explorer was 4-door, and the Sport was a 2-door.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, and this is when they went through that thing where they had those tires on it that they were flipping over and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, that is a phenomenal vehicle.
Yeah, well, and
you know what I mean.
Now I think they're better now than they were when they first came out.
There's
like
no question.
I like the looks of them a lot better.
Absolutely.
They're a little bit wider, and they're just a lot better looking.
Yeah,
and they're great vehicles. They're good vehicles.
They really are. And I think originally when they first came out, they had that 4.0 motor. That was a solid motor for Ford. You know what I mean?
Still is.
Yeah, that was a solid motor.
Love
and
the
they
4.0.
just, oh my gosh, they just, they would
And then-
go and go and go.
And we talked about this, the Bronco, the newer Broncos, they are a lot. They're really nice. And,
They're a sexy looking car,
right?
But they're not the large.
Yeah.
They are not the. They're today's version of a Bronco, which is,
Of
I
the
think is
original Bronco.
great.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah, they
The
look more
styling
like
is nice.
Yeah,
But I mean, they've got tiny little motors in them, 1.5s. But I mean, that's the whole thing with the way that let's call it progress, or really what it has to do with emissions, is everything is downsizing.
well,
You know
and
what I mean?
they're getting more out of the motors. Than
They were
used
getting a
to.
lot
Yeah,
more.
You know, the smaller motors are producing more horsepower. They used to put 460s in vehicles. And,
You bet.
Yeah,
They're getting the same out of the 3.5 with turbos.
yeah, right. Yeah, they're getting the same out of them.
Yeah.
So that's
or
why.
superchargers or whatever. I mean, and Bronco does offer a variety of different types. Same displacement motor with different power options on them.
Well, we had a customer, just to your point. There's all different, a variety. You know what I mean? So you make your pick. But we had a customer come in this week that had one of the 1.5s in it, and I, it was a joy to drive. I got the chance to drive it in. We pick up and drop off. So this is one that I'd picked up. And as I was driving in, I noticed, I felt it felt a little sluggish to me. We brought it in, we did a service on it, and boy, going back, it was just a different vehicle. And I thought to myself, my goodness, this is fun to drive, Yeah. So yeah.
Well, and the technology in these vehicles is so unbelievable.
Yeah.
When you get in there, it's almost like you're in a cockpit.
Yeah.
With all the all the technology and the screens and all this other, you can touch it, you touch this. It's just like it's a mini
Hey,
computer.
Dave, how do you shift the gears anymore?
Yeah, that's exactly.
Turn a
right.
button.
Yeah. Well, you don't have a key anymore either. How do you start the car?
Yeah,
I mean, it's so crazy. It's like, everything is so different now.
It is.
Hell, even opening doors on these cars anymore. I mean, some of these cars with all the electronic stuff they got on them.
Speak into it. Hey, open up.
Yeah.
It's more like entering a spaceship than it is a
That's
an
a
automobile,
good analogy. That's right. Well, and then we also talked about this too. Was the Ford F-150?
Oh,
That Ford F-150 is a
It's been rock solid. It started back in the day. It was a Ford F-100. If you
was.
remember back
I
in the
do remember
60s,
that.
right?
yeah.
And,
Well, the Apaches, man, they had the Apaches even before that.
Yeah.
So-
No, that was a GM.
Was Apache GM?
Yeah.
I thought it was the F-100.
No, it was a Chevrolet.
Well, I'll
made
tell you
the
what.
Apache. Anyway,
Those are when you get into the F-150s, the 250s, all those. That's what I'm talking about. That's where I think there's real craft work being done.
Yeah, their trucks have been solid.
Absolutely.
I mean,
think-
they have their issues. Don't get me wrong. I mean, they've
Absolutely.
they've had their issues over the years too.
but it's like driving a Lincoln with a box on the back. In fact, they do make a Lincoln pickup truck.
Do they really?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
I think it's a Navigator pickup or something like that. I see them all the time.
Wow. I know the
Got the Lincoln
Explorer
emblem
has
on
that
the
sport
tailgate
track.
and-
They have that sport track that's like a pickup.
Well, and I tell you what, I really like the look of the like my van is 2012, and the 2012 to 2014, the front end, the grill and everything, it just looks really tough.
Yeah.
And I really like the look of the front end of that thing. And the trucks.
Hey, Dave, is it sexy?
It's
is it
very
like you?
sexy, very sexy. Yeah, very, very much. It's making me look sexy.
It's just so
Boy, it's working overtime.
Yeah, it is, and that's a lot. That's a lot. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then there was, this is a kind of a bonus thing, is 2008 Lincoln Mark LT pickup truck.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wow.
The Mark
Wow.
LT.
Mark LT.
See, so I wasn't mistaken.
No, I believe you
right.
wholeheartedly. I just
For the first time
I
today.
haven't. Have you seen many
This
of
week,
those?
maybe.
I mean,
We'll
I
call
haven't
your
seen- I
wife.
haven't
We'll
seen
call your
many.
wife and tell her
Yeah,
you
I
were
see him
right.
on the road all the time.
Do you really?
But it's it's a $150,000 base model pickup because it's loaded. I mean, like I said, it's like going into a spaceship, because the F-150 you've got several different packages that you can get. Long bed, short bed, side, with the flare sides and all the crazy stuff that they've done over the years. In fact, I sold a 2005 F-150 with the flare side with the fiberglass bed. I don't know if you remember when they made those.
Oh, absolutely.
And for some reason, I guess for payload and carrying heavy stuff, the fiberglass didn't hold up for certain.
Well, now they're making all the Ford trucks out of aluminum, right?
Well, they've not all, but they've got aluminum beds. They've got
aluminum beds,
steel siding. So
and that's and that's another thing, and it's off topic, but I'm just going to throw it in there real quick. Is that the metals that they're using now, and they're lighter, they're stronger.
Yeah,
everything's a little. Back in the day, everything was heavy.
Yeah. And once again, just to stay a little bit off topic for a second, the one thing that's been unique to me that I've loved, the metals, going back to, the way that they build these vehicles, they're really passenger centric and friendly, crumple zones, and how a car folds and how it responds. You know what I mean? If you happen to find yourself in an accident, or it
absorbs the impact, is what you're saying. Yeah, it absorbs the impact.
Really, really good for the passengers.
And I would venture to guess, I don't have any statistics to prove it, but I would say that, you get in a serious crash, your car is totaled these days, because there's so many things that are destroyed, less the passengers, which is good. The passengers were safe. They walked away from what looks like an incredible disaster. The car is total, and even what would appear to be somewhat minor damage will total the car today because of the frame, the way that they make the frames bend or
twist,
crush or twist or whatever to keep the passengers safe.
plus all the
airbags and stuff like that. There's so much that goes into that.
Well, you
and don't ask why your insurance keeps going up.
We're way off topic, guys.
Sorry.
But it's true. You're 100%. I know some body shops that say the same thing. They say they're totaling a lot of these vehicles because when they put them back together, they don't drive right. There's all kinds of other issues. So the insurance companies don't want to deal with it, which I don't blame them.
And some of them still get fixed behind closed doors and end up back on the market again.
You see a lot of the salvage titles that are out there.
That's why, and buyer beware on that, obviously. But back to Ford, Henry Ford was one of those guys that was way more innovative and way ahead of his time.
Ahead of his time.
When it come to manufacturing and it come to building stuff, just the manufacturing process, he innovated that.
Well, he absolutely. And I think the interesting thing to just like to your point is, not only was he ahead of his time, he was not afraid to be innovative. He was not afraid.
No.
He had a vision. He had a dream. I think we talked about this on a previous podcast where, what the difference in, a hope and a dream is that, hope you're 10 years later, a dream is, I'm going to make this happen now. And you know what? That was the thing.
Oh, it's really a goal.
He was a pusher.
Yeah, he's a goal,
He pushed through things.
The thing I admire about Henry Ford is that he didn't just attribute greatness to himself. He looked for great people. He hired great people.
Yes.
And he
built teams.
He attracted great people because they saw his vision and his greatness. And again, I'm not worshiping the guy. I'm just saying that, Lee Iacocca was one of them that came. He worked for Ford for decades, and then he took over Chrysler Corporation because he had an opportunity.
Right.
But, he had that vision that those people had were so similar or identical that's how you build a great company.
Great leaders recognize that nobody does it alone. I mean, look at Walt Disney. Look at some of the other.
Well, and some of them say I had a lot of luck. And it's really funny when you talk to these guys that are billionaires and run billion dollar companies. They'll say I was lucky.
Yeah.
And a lot of them just say that, and I don't necessarily. I think there has to be a lot of vision and a lot of work behind that. Mm-hmm. To make that luck happen. Mm-hmm. I think you can make your luck happen, but in any case, Henry Ford built a great company.
You bet. And
it's still family owned.
It's still family owned. And the thing that I think was really great was what Glen brought out was that he picked great people to work with him and to work beside him and to build him up. He knew how to mentor.
He bought out a lot of companies.
Yeah.
They had a great idea, but they didn't have all the wherewithal to grow it.
You bet.
And so he partnered with those people.
So guys, we got to wrap this thing up here. But I want to ask you guys before we go, out of those 5 cars, the Mustang, the Escape, the Explorer, Bronco, F-150, which one would you say your favorite?
A Mustang.
Yeah, I would say the Mustang as well. only because I've had 2 or 3 of them. And yeah, I mean, I've probably had 6 or 8 of the F-150s, but those were always the work trucks. You know what I mean?
And
they were never the sexy cars.
And we're talking about the Mustang car, not the one that the SUV that they make. They call it a Mustang, right?
Yeah, no, I don't want it. I don't want that.
Mach-E.
Yeah. And so
those things they're lightning fast. I mean, it's all electric, and I mean those things would probably beat the snot out of the average Mustang that's on the road because they're just so quick off the line.
Yeah.
But they
can
don't come
hit
close to the way they look.
Yeah.
No. They destroyed the image of the Mustang when they made the Mach-E.
I don't know what their thought process was behind that, but anyway.
An SUV Mustang, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is, and I think that it really is kind of good that you pay some adieu to Ford, is they were the pioneer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were the ones that was forging ahead and trying to take where we were to where we are now, you know what I mean, and where we can be in the future. And I think they really helped a lot of other people, you know what I mean, to know that, and the other thing that I loved about Henry Ford was he was trying to make cars for every man, not just the rich man, but he was trying to make cars for every man.
And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he was trying to do. He was trying to get those cars out there and make it affordable, make it work for everybody.
You bet.
The Mustang 2 and the Pinto were kind of
they were every man
a
cars.
bad experiment.
Yeah.
Well,
and here's the thing. Not everything you do is going to be good, but you know what? You can't be afraid to try.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Otherwise, and it's so true.
Yeah.
The thing of it is unless you try, you're going to make mistakes along the way. You just learn from those mistakes and you move on. Right?
That's absolutely right.
We do every day. We learn something new in our businesses. So anyway,
Well,
guys,
that's why I like to go to work.
yeah, really, no kidding.
Every day's a new day.
Every day's a new day.
I do similar things every day, but not the same.
Yeah, I just do them slower.
That sounds more like Alzheimer's.
I remember less.
Yeah, I want to remember less. Well, guys, it's been another great show, and I'm glad we got together again, and I look forward to the next podcast. And if you would, if you like the show, please like us and subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. And you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll do this again soon.
Absolutely.
Have a great weekend, man.
You too.